One of the things that's always been important at Red Mountain Theater, supporting new work. And when we moved into this beautiful new facility, I became even more inspired to understand how could we do that.
I came to Red Mountain Theater because I knew Keith, and Keith had invited me, 15 years ago maybe, to come and do an evening of my songs at the piano, and cabaret style evening for your theater goers here in Birmingham. And it was just a great experience, and I loved the environment, and I loved Keith, and I loved just the whole feel of the place.
Well, during the pandemic, I had a few full productions planned and needed to pivot to a model that didn't involve sharing costumes and touching props and all these other things. So I asked Matt, do you think Andrew would allow me to create a review of his work instead of producing these full productions? They said yes, and I ended up doing 3 of those reviews during that time period, after which we looked at each other and thought, why don't we turn one of these into an actual show? Let's get Andrew on board.
And let's write a story and string all the songs together in a new way. First, we had to get him on board, and so we did a little thing in New York, and he was like, yeah, I'm into this. Where should we develop it? Have you ever heard of Red Mountain Theater? And so I said to Nathan, do you know Red Mountain Theater?
I was like, get out of here. I just worked at the Red Mountain Theater. A year before that, I came down to direct the Broadway boot camp program. I said, I have a number of connections with that theater. This makes too much sense.
So, of course, hearing from Andrew, I was immediately like, gosh, can you send me all of the show assets? So I get in my inbox the joy of reading and looking at something called Love Somebody Now. It is a amalgamation of songs of all of Andrew's work, and people may not know that Andrew Lippa is the most produced composer in the American musical theater right now. His shows are literally done more across the country or really around the world than any other composer.
When Matt and I started putting Andrew's songs together to decide what kind of story we wanted to tell, we found similar themes of family, fathers and daughters, mothers and sons, siblings and spouses. And Matt and Andrew and I are all very close with our families, and we are all in healthy, happy marriages. So we were drawn to those themes. The story started to write itself in a way because of the way we connected with those themes of family.
It's a musical review, but there's no changed lyrics. There's no added dialogue. We've just found a way to put the songs in order where we tell a complete story from beginning to end. And that to me has been really rewarding, working on this project of kind of creating a unique, one-of-a-kind review that neither of us can really think of other comparable shows.
Yeah.
When I meet collaborative artists working on my songs, is really fantastic and hard to explain. My art doesn't exist without them. And in most ways, their art doesn't exist without me. And so there is this mutual need for each other. We have this idea, it's on paper, we think it works, but until you put it in the souls and bodies and voices of other artists, you don't really know. And there's that ephemeral part, which is what happens when actor A gets paired up with song B, and what do they bring to it that was never even considered by the person who wrote the song.
It's so exciting because we're creating something that's never been done before. And so we're bringing ourselves to the piece, which is very special opportunity because you don't often get this kind of opportunity where you get to infuse so much of yourself into something that hasn't been done before.
Like you were saying, Thad, about bringing yourself to the character, and especially with this process being brand new, we are able to do that, which you always should, bring your experience, but not having to fit into someone else's mold necessarily is really kind of a unique thing.
Not only are they very talented, these 6 people have a very special connection with this material. It happened instantly, and they've been just emotionally drawn into the work in a way that's made us go on that emotional journey with them. I think it's very unique to this group, and it's been a very special process because of that.
I guess it's a twofold answer talking about working with folks here. One is this extraordinary facility, and that people in the community felt like theater matters, and theater matters to this area, and it matters that the people who work in theater and come to the theater have a first-class experience. This room is as good as any rehearsal room I've ever been in. I mean, it's just a remarkable vote of love and confidence in the notion of making a musical. The facility isn't just a building, it is an invitation. The facility is not just a space, it is an expression of love and support. It speaks to me very deeply about who is in this community who believes that this kind of place matters.
People are always so interested and curious about how Red Mount Theater Company blossomed forth in a place like Birmingham. And honestly, you can't do that without an angel donor. And Raymond and Catherine Harbert were the energy behind all of this potential being realized. You know, our early conversations with Raymond and Catherine was about how do we support new work? And this just fell perfectly in line with us continuing that desire. One of the other things that Andrew brought to the project was theatrical rights worldwide. They are one of the rights holders in New York. There are only about 5 or 6 companies that handle all shows, and we typically license any of our work through them. So it was exciting that not only Andrew wanting to partner with Red Mountain Theater Company, but he had already brought in the Rights House that will hopefully, and the intention is that they will then offer this new work out into the community.
The other part is the artistic side, and particularly we're talking about the actors and Anthony Smith as well as music director of the show and his impeccable gifts and approach to the work and willingness to learn. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to come here, is to be able to say to our audiences and to say to our potential audiences, hey, put the phone down and let's be in a room together and let's feel together.
You have not lived until you watch one of your favorite composers sit down behind the piano and demonstrate the intention behind his music
Yes.
as he's playing it. It was a wild experience. I was so jazzed after rehearsal last night.
Me too.
My assignment this week when I got to Birmingham was to write a new song at the end of the play. And so I finished the song last night and we showed it to the cast last night, and we're gonna teach it tonight, and then tomorrow we're gonna do it. So that's called making a new musical.
The culmination of interviewing and sort of chatting with Andrew prior to taking our constituents in to see really the first inception of this show right here on our campus was just unreal. Beautiful experience. I really think that everyone ended up kind of leaning in and being on the edge of their seat and having that sense that you're part of something very unique and very special.
That takes time and a belief in artists and a trust in the process and a lot of money. And it cannot be done without all of those things. So I hope that Red Mountain Theater can continue to look at that part of the mission, which is how do we add to the library? How do we build new things that can not only be done here, but that can grow in other places? My hunch about this place and the people who built it and who are running it is that they want that too. They want it not because they're selfish, not because they would look at us, how great we are, we made new musicals, because they love the art form too. It'll always say, developed at, helped first time done at, world premiere at Red Mountain Theater.
I think one of the exciting things about Love Somebody Now and having Andrew, who was here in concert, 100 years ago, be a part of this very first step of ours is always going to be very dear to me and to this organization. I know for a fact we will birth other musicals here, but this will always be the first.
This is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I'm very grateful to be a part.
Yeah, how about a sequel?